What's ET short for? Because he's got little legs.
If you're interested in being great, you better look hard into Washington State. You want to be great? Go to Washington State, baby.
Welcome back to the Palouse Playbook. We got Cougar Carlson back in the house, friend of the pod, a big friend of the pod. We had him on earlier. He was wearing a Santa hat. If you missed that episode, well, we got him back this time. Welcome in, Cougar Carlson. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on again, guys. Love being on with you guys, and it's always a blast.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? I'll keep it PG. This was a fun spring. We talked a lot about different positions. We had some other guys on here, Win or Lose Pod, Lucas Ingham on the other day, talking about different positions. One position group we haven't really dove into a whole lot is this tight end group, what they're going to look like. I mean, we have some kind of emerging names. Cougar, I want to kick it over to you on your thoughts on this tight end group, what you see. We got Trey Leckner that we didn't get to see at all in the spring. How's that going to look kind of going down the road? What are your thoughts on this tight end group and how it looks?
Yeah, certainly. You got the likes of Trey Leckner that could certainly come in and probably make some great plays for the Cougs. But Jack Pederson, transfer out of UCLA, is going to be a big target to find. And I'm really excited about him personally. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because, I grew up in LA and, I kind of have an affinity to that school still. But that being said, I think him joining our team, he's going to make some great strides for us and be able to help stretch the field in ways that we haven't been able to do with the tight end in the past.
Yeah. Chad, what are your thoughts on this tight end group? And just from what we've seen and what we've gathered, Jack Pederson emerging super quick, Trey Leckner coming back. What are your thoughts?
Well, Jack Pederson, one nice thing that I've seen just from videos, right? We're not in Pullman, but it's his leadership. He's always kind of getting the guys going. And I love players like that. You got to have a couple of those guys. I call them glue guys. They keep the group together. But one guy that I only saw one catch from this last year, but the size at 6'6", out of Kentucky. He was a South Dakota State transfer, Beau Baker. I mean, I feel like that size, the ability, the speed was there. He just couldn't stay healthy. I'd love to see how that kind of progresses, in the new offensive scheme. Stuck around, obviously loved Pullman. And then obviously you got to love, and I know we're going to be touching on a little bit of the incoming freshman later, but I wanted to get ahead of you guys. A guy that's similar size at 6'6", but he's listed at 270 on Scout. So we'll see what he comes in. That video he saw in when he was playing in New Zealand and doing his drills and just looked like probably a rugby field. He looks something special. So you see a tight end group in spring that was very limited, a lot like a lot of positions. We had injuries at receiver, we had injuries at corner. So we didn't really see a lot of the tight end. We didn't really see much of our real offense, I feel like. So people are giving a hard time like, what is this offense? It'll come, especially during this offseason when you get those guys in there. So this tight end group could be somewhat special, I feel like. It's just we haven't seen it yet.
And of course, he's talking about Nathaniel Salmon there out of New Zealand, 6'6", 274, big dude. Excited to see, and he's listed as a freshman with all the funky stuff he had to go through with, I guess, being a part of the Chargers organization at one point. We get him for at least those 5 years of eligibility that he has. So excited to see what he brings to the table. Jack Pederson. I'm just going to name off some of the other tight ends here, just so no one's feeling left out. Peyton Reed, the redshirt freshman, also 6'6", 230 by way of Portland, Oregon, Westview High School. Cash Lando, 6'4", 242 out of Portland, Oregon, Franklin High School. And then also one of our hometown guys for the Gig Harbor and Knowlesy, Hudson Cedarland out of Gig Harbor, Washington, Gig Harbor High School. Redshirt senior, 6'3", 235. I believe he's a converted wide receiver. So this tight end group is a lot, and the personnel that they're going to be running is a little bit I guess, different than maybe what we've seen in the past, that, 12 personnel and just having, 1 to 2 tight ends kind of, in rotation and everything. So yeah, that's another thing that you don't see a whole lot with that air raid offense that we've seen for so long. And then as we got into the run and shoot, you'd see, I think you saw a lot of tight ends just, I guess, developed or in there, but just you didn't see a lot of play calls for them. Like Ademola Falaye last year had that one, like 5-10 yard pass that he got in the end zone. I wanted to see more of him last year. This tight end group has a chance to, like, you have way more options and you have a lot of good stuff that can come out of this tight end group. So wanted to mention what we can see out of this group, what we can see how as they integrate with the quarterback situation that we don't know is, how it's gonna pan out. We still don't have our starter yet. There's a lot of speculation out there, but as we're talking about quarterbacks, and I know that this is as we've seen from the comments, we can tell that this is maybe a touchy subject for everybody, but we're just giving our opinions. There's nothing malicious, anything like that. It's completely unbiased. It's what we're seeing. So if anything out there is really just bothering you, just I guess continue to leave comments. We'll take them in, but I promise you, we're attacking these from an unbiased perspective. You got 3 guys that are duking it out for the quarterback position. Cougar Carlson, what are you seeing?
Yeah, personally, I was able to go to the Spokane spring game and watch some of that. Was a little distracted by my son, who's 8 years old, but had some fun. Got to watch Caden and Eshelman, or Pinnock and Eshelman, duke it out as the top 2 candidates. And yes, I know that Julian Dugger is certainly there, but those 2 really seem to stand out between the 3. And I think the only difference for me that I see in some of this that I think hasn't been brought up is maybe just a little bit of that size factor for Caden Pinnock, because I don't even want to think he's 6 feet, because I promise you he's probably closer to that 5'10", 5'11". But it seems to be a little bit of a gray area where he can kind of feather those passes over the top or be able to see over his O lineman in different situations. That's what I noticed from watching. Eshelman seems to have a really good, deep ball that he can throw here and there. And I like both quarterbacks, just different scenarios depending upon what the goals are of the team and how they see things playing out going into August. So,
yeah. And I've said it multiple times. I think there's a way that Julian Dugger finds his way on the field. Like, the kid's super athletic. The type of offense that you're running, you could see, that style of offense. Whoever comes out as QB1, I'm excited to see how this moves forward. I'm excited to see this team rally behind whoever QB1 is, and it's going to be a fun competition. I think when it's all said and done, you're gonna see a good quarterback out there that's been handling a very good defense. Like, whoever emerges, all 3 quarterbacks are going to be facing a really good defense to get prepared for game 1 or the full season. So I'm excited to see this quarterback competition continue to play out. I'm excited to see all 3 of these guys, this iron sharpened iron mentality. I know that they're duking it out, but I've seen those interviews. They look very collective as a group, as a quarterback group. Seems like they're all bought into the same program. So it's that part's huge, is they're all bought into the Kirby Moore program. And that's what we want to see.
So you mentioned Pinnock and Owen being 1-2. I mean, currently right now, like, what are some things that you saw maybe Owen do better that Pinnock didn't do as well, or vice versa?
Yeah, I just think getting those crossing routes was just a little bit easier for Eshelman because he can kind of see over the line a little bit better than Pinnock. That's just something that I picked up on. That's just my impression of what I saw,
What do you think about, throwing Samoans, he quoted, he said he's got a little bit of Russell Wilson to his game. Did you see that?
Yeah, you can definitely see that in Caden Pinnock, right? Like, or you talking about
Pinnock? With Pinnock.
Yeah, I can definitely see that with Pinnock because he's kind of got that flair to him. Do you want that all the time, though? That's the part that we want to be mindful of, because you want to be able to get it when the pass is initially open and not have to scramble for it.
And
right?
I'm right there with you. And like me personally, like my thought on it is like, yeah, I mean, when I first saw his film, when like that first day and I started watching, I'm like, I saw Russell Wilson right away. And where our offense is at, I feel like he just needs to be a facilitator. We need a QB in there. We don't need a gunslinger. We don't need somebody that's going to be thrown for 400 yards a game. We have several running backs that can take care of the ball and do that. We need a guy that's just not going to throw interceptions. I know last night we were talking about it too. It's just our defense kept us in ball games, even with having multiple turnovers during the game. So if we can go in and win that turnover battle, you have to imagine that we're going to come out on top majority of the time.
Yeah, the Virginia game. I mean, the Ole Miss game. Some of these games where if we don't turn the ball over a whole lot, we might be on top of some of these top 25 teams. And factor in, I guess I'm not going to give my opinion. I want to get your opinion. Talk to me about this defense. Last year compared to that, because last year we had a great defense that was well constructed by a guy who does know defense. Now, his ability to coach an offense, I don't know. Good luck to them at Iowa State. We'll see how that kind of pans out for them and everything.
We're past that. We need to move past it.
But we got Trent Bray. Talk to me about this defense and just what we got going on defense for 2026.
Yeah, I think one thing that is a differentiator between the two teams is really you have a level of talent on this team that seems to be there, whereas you could see that the way in which the defense played last year, there was cohesion, there was tactfulness on the coaching side on how they approached the level of the game. This season, you could see that our talent is there, right? I mean, our defensive line, we have some hosses that can really get in there and get some pressure on the quarterback, which has been desperately missing for seasons. And we really need that going into the new Pac-12 this year so we can really take control and obviously get out in front of the likes of Boise State and Oregon State, San Diego State, all these other schools. And we just, I think one player that really stands out to me that I've mentioned to you guys prior was certainly Caden Beattey. Just a big guy in the trenches. And, he seems to be really dominant and he seems to be really effective. And because of that, I think and he's just one of, defensive linemen that's going to make a difference in our defense this year amongst many others. Because I think, again, we're one of the most well-balanced teams that we've seen in many years, and we spoke to prior to getting on.
Now, we had a funny name to call this. We call it depthy before we got going here, but I think girthy. It just sounds a little bit better. This is one of the most depthy rosters that we've seen. I'll stay away from girthy. I'll stay away from girthy. It was funny when we said it. I'll leave it alone. But depthy, one of the most depthy rosters we've seen, especially on defense, especially on defensive line. We're seeing probably 4 lines deep, just like you'd watch a hockey game. These guys that can rotate in. Last night I mentioned guys like Malachi Rice, Malijah Tucker, guys that could really turn a corner. And they're still, I don't want to say this to diminish them, but maybe on the 4th line of this roster, or 3rd line, or kind of close. But you get down to there, and they're still absolute brawlers, absolute animals that can really turn the corner in their career. And when you have a defensive line that's built out like that is as depthy as they say, we're excited to see what that backfield looks like. Talk to me a little bit more about what you saw at the spring game. Was there any other standouts? What stood out to you from the spring game? And this one we can keep it open, defense, offense, whatever you want to talk about. But yeah, talk to me about the spring game that you got to see.
Yeah, so I think what you really just alluded to is the depth, right? And there were certainly some injuries that you saw that we had within, the spring game. That being said, you can see that there's plug and play scenarios where you can certainly pull in that next line and still depend on it to make a big key stop late in the game if you needed to. If some of your big hosses up front initially, your A line is sitting there, obviously just getting tired in the trenches and you have to replace them. that's the difference that I saw in what we have available to us is, as you said, depthy. We have a lot of depth on this team that we've just, I don't know. We're just bruisers and brawlers at this point, where we're able to really kind of facilitate what we want, or dictate what we want to do, both on offense and defense. And I think the balance that these two sides of the ball are going to be able to see is going to be, WSU should be feared this year, should really be feared. And that's my honest opinion going into this spring and summer ball. And so we'll wait to see what the regular season holds for us.
I agree. And I think most of us here at Up West Sports have kind of come to that same conclusion, where Kirby Moore has done just a fantastic job of constructing a team, constructing staff. Getting Trent Bray is just absolutely insane that we got him to be our defensive coordinator, and him just being from Pullman is awesome. All the ties that comes with it. Structuring this team like you would at the SEC level, going to get Brad Larondo that handles a lot of GM stuff. We've never seen that in Pullman before at any sport. So getting stuff like that, Kirby Moore is next level. Go ahead, Jed.
The systems are in place, right? It's like there's not a lot of woe is me. I mean, like, we have everything we need. I mean, right? I just feels like as Cougs we band together, but right, it's like there's this tipping point as far as like you can only do so much together. You have to put correct systems in place. You look at every single thing; it's like very methodical how they do things. So, yeah, man, Cougar Carlson, you jacked me up. You jacked me up right there. I got so excited when you said we should be feared, man. And my toes.
Well, and maybe speaking of feared. Speaking of feared, looking around this brand new Pac-12, I'm excited. Teams like Texas State, who may or may not have done well in the portal, Fresno State, Utah State, all these teams, Boise State, obviously, Colorado State getting Jim Mora, who apparently doesn't like the Cougs a whole lot. That might be a fun rivalry. I don't know if you saw that whole UConn bit where I think he was mad at Jake Dickert, and it was literally after he left. And he was like, oh, yeah, the team up in the Northwest, really, they're poaching our players. Or, I saw a whole bit. There's a whole thing. Jim Moore, I don't think, likes the Cougs. And, I don't I hope we absolutely put it to Colorado State. But nonetheless, getting to this new Pac-12, Chad, you had a question that you wanted to talk about with the schedule, everything. Talk to me. Talk to Cougar. What do we got going on?
Yeah, we know, obviously, the Huskies, we always kind of circle that on the calendar. But beyond that, just from like a regular season conference opponent, just tell me who you're most, like, that game you're most excited to watch.
Well, I think everybody has it on their schedule for two different reasons. And talking to people at the Spokane game, Boise State is one of the most prepared games that people are preparing for in terms of it being close to being sold out already. They're the most tickets purchased for that game. That being said, don't put Fresno State on the back burner. And I say that because Fresno State is the very first new Pac-12 game for us. And so there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement to really show who we are as Washington State, that we can dominate this new conference. And those are the two games that I'm really looking forward to. And for personal reasons, due to the fact that my wife's family all went to Boise State, I will be at that game too. But I'm going to be at both those games, and I'm going to be jacked up to be in this, probably on the sidelines and just having fun doing media stuff. So
I love that. No, I'm right there with you, especially on Boise State. I was there at the game. Ashton Genty ran all over us. I just want to take it to him. I had a terrible time sitting in the stands. Last minute, my son was born a couple of weeks before, so I got the last little 24-hour trip, and I wish I didn't take that trip. That was tough. So I can't wait to take it to him. And then Fresno State, too. I like that. I mean, they have the most returning starters on defense, so you already know that's going to be a tough opponent. It's going to be a tough ball game. And I feel like it's going to be a low-scoring affair. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Gav, what are you looking forward to the most?
I mean, Boise State, just to be different, and just talk about something different. San Diego State, I'm excited about them. I know some people in our comments have mentioned that they lost. To be honest, I haven't hawked their roster, and I haven't been paying too much attention. I just know they had a pretty solid defense last year, and we ended up beating them with Jackson Potter, of all people, to be the quarterback and win a game. So I'm excited to see them. I know that they're going to be hungry after how well they did last year and losing to Wazoo. I know they're going to be hungry for us. So that's the game I want to circle. And hey, be prepared. They're going to come after you with all they got. And that's the one I think they're going to be really hungry for.
They have them as the number one defense. They did pretty well in the portal, especially on the defensive side. For me, just to be a little bit different, I'm going to look at, I kind of circle that game down at Texas State down San Marcos. I mean, if you're somebody that likes to have a good time, I mean, you just go down, fly into San Antonio, fly into Austin, stay there, go see a Coug game. I think UT might be playing around the same time too. I don't know, but anyways, I think
2 games.
Yeah, that San Marcos game, I'd be circling that. That looks like an electric stadium to be at.
Yeah, well, you can bet your bottom dollar that the coaching staff is too, because where do you think they're going to get the recruiting pipeline from now that they have access to that pipeline? And so I'm excited for them just to have access to that pipeline.
Well, it's the pipeline that Mike Leach donned. He got so many Texas kids to come up here. So, and look how good we were with those Texas boys. So, yeah, would love to open up that pipeline again. And that was the other. Okay, so I do have another question beyond this pertaining to the Pac-12. What school or schools would you like to see be added to make this conference stronger down the road?
Are you okay? So let me,
Expansion.
I don't want to put, I know expansion. So not any returning Pac-12 schools, correct?
You can, Nosey put out Stanford and Cal, and I think we had a kind of as a collective hard pass on that one.
Oh, well, I can appreciate where everybody comes from that, but they're going to add some prowess to the conference just based on the fact that they are Stanford and Cal. But they're an outlier within their conference, even though they've found some success within their respective sports. That being said, I saw a recent post, and I can't tell you every team and every school, but there was like a Pac-12, like East and West division. I don't know if you guys saw this on X, but basically it was a lot of other schools that like Pac-12 was considering, including Memphis and all these other schools on the East Coast, and then just basically dividing the conference and then putting it into one major conference of like Pac-14 or something like that. And I thought that was an interesting concept. That being said, I would love to add another Texas school because it's the Texas state for recruiting is huge. And anywhere that Washington State can go and get inside Texas, obviously California, we're already on the West Coast. So I think there's an advantage there if kids aren't considering Stanford, Cal, UCLA, or USC. Easy to sit there and say that they could come to Washington State. So
yeah, I love where your head's at. UTSA, North Texas. There's some really good schools down there. I know North Texas just got depleted with their their coach. Mestemaker. Everybody all left that program, but if you put them in the Pac-12, that might just elevate their game. That might elevate the money around them. They have a solid school. I think they have 30,000 plus students. Like they have a solid school.
Big enough.
Denton's a really good area. Dallas is an area that we would love to. I know we have Dallas Baptist, but they don't have football. So I'd love to continue getting Dallas as a market for the Pac-12. That would be huge. And then, if you continue to grow, schools like Houston that are kind of sitting on the lower end of the Big 12, maybe they reevaluate kind of where they're at and just say, hey, maybe we can go here and be a contender and take a look at some, I don't know, just reevaluate, right? Like
you'd have to bring enough players. That's where coming back to Stanford and Cal and bringing enough players into it so that there's a bigger money pool. Because if Houston loses out on so much of that money, like, right, what are we getting, like 12, 13 million?
13.2, I believe.
Yeah. So I think, and what we were previously making with the Pac-12, I mean, it's a big difference. And so unless Houston can bring another big player in the game or Stanford and Cal come back simultaneously, then you've got to factor that in. And so I would always bring that into consideration because money is going to always play a factor for these schools.
Money's everything when it comes to this decision. Unfortunately, I hate it. It's the root of all evils, but that's all right. But I'd say the biggest thing, I mean, I think we won't hear much through this season. I don't think we'll hear anything next year. I think it'll be 2020 or maybe a little bit next year. That 2028 season is when that AAC, I think also Sunbelt TV contracts up around the same time too. So it'll be interesting. I don't think college athletics has any say in it. I think it's ESPN, et cetera, of the world.
Well, and Chad, I was going to say, who was your team that you love to see?
Well, you
mentioned it
makes the most sense. It was just like, how did we not get them in the first place? And I don't know if any notes have come out from the lawsuit. As far as I know, they came to an agreement. So that means that there was.
That's as much as I've seen.
Yeah, so it's a little frustrating. Right now, I'm just kind of like on pins and needles waiting for that because I know there's an out clause when it comes to UNLV, and I think Air Force was the other one where if they don't meet like a certain dollar amount, then it's a breach of contract and they can jump. So that'll be interesting to kind of see what unfold over the next few weeks or end of the season. UNLV is a big one for me. Going down to Ole Miss and going to Memphis, like I would love to, if we're going to talk about like a Southeast conference, like I would love to bring in Memphis. Like let's continue to build on our basketball as far as a conference goes. Football, like obviously not a Power 4 conference. It won't be. And I'm okay with that. I love where we're at right now. But from a basketball standpoint, I feel like we can really elevate ourselves by adding a Memphis, and then Tulane maybe kind of jumps in there too. I really like
Tulane. We talked about if you want to go to the basketball route, Wichita State, Creighton, having that really cool Midwest rivalry. This could be, if you go the basketball route, there are so many other options that can elevate the Pac-12 quickly. I just don't know if the money's there basketball wise versus if you try and go the football route. Exactly. So, but if you want to be
probably not. Yeah. Sorry.
But if you want to have if you want to have Sweet 16 teams, if you want to have teams that are competing on a national level, and basketball is kind of a major sport, not kind of, it is a major sport behind football. There's only a handful of schools that a handful of sports that really kind of elevate the TV ratings and stuff. So yeah. I'm excited to see what this new Pac-12 looks like. Cougar Carlson, man, I can't thank you enough for being on the pod. We got to get you back more often. We got to, get talking Coug football as we get through the summer and into the fall. Where can everybody find you?
The FieldHouse Report. Me and Drew still have our podcast, taking a hiatus for personal reasons. So thanks for, mentioning that and, giving us the opportunity to still have, a voice and be on your podcast, because this is all just fun for us, and that's why we do this, right? So
you're damn right,
Cougs, man.
Cougs help Cougs, baby. Go Cougs, and just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys.